everyone. It's great that you're here. I'm Joan Raymond. This is A Heart for Writing, and this is being live streamed to both my Facebook group and to YouTube today. Let us know where you're watching from. Put it in the chat. I'd love to say hi. Love to acknowledge you. I appreciate you watching. And also, if you're watching on the replay, hey, I'm really happy you're here too. This will be up for replay after we're done. So today we are going to talk about how do I find the time to write? And I know this is a big question that comes up all the time. In fact, I have kind of a funny story to tell you. When I was prepping for today's, so we've got Ken, he's in the wood shop. So yay, Ken. Hopefully you don't have any of the saws turned on and you're watching, with that, you're being safe. Anyway, as I was prepping for today, I have to tell you, so first of all, let me kind of back up a little bit. I'm 64. And what that means is that I can sign up for Medi-Cal on my next birthday in March. And I am getting phone calls and offers from just about every single insurance person ever. And, everything from, hi, what can we sell you to, we got the perfect thing for you. So yesterday I got a phone call and I ended up answering it. I talked to the lady and she's, she wanted to sell me long-term care and all this kind of good stuff. And I told her, I said, I have no time to talk right now. I have a book launch that's going to come out next week and I am 100% focused on this book launch. So she says a few more things and then she stops, like just cold stops, and she goes, you're an author? And I'm like, yes. She goes, can I ask you a question? I'm say, sure. So she asked me about my books and whatnot. And then we got somebody else, and I don't know who it is, but because you got to click on StreamYard and give them permission, but thank you for watching. Anyway, so she asked me a couple questions about my book, and then she said, I have a book I want to write. I'm like, oh, really? What's it about? And so she started telling me about it, and it's a really good book. It's a really, really great idea. The book needs to go out. And I told her that. And she goes, but I don't know how to find the time to write. And I start laughing, not at her, but I start laughing, and I'm like, you have no idea. I just literally 10 minutes ago finished prepping for a live stream that I'm going to be doing on Tuesday. And I said, let me ask you a few questions and let me, so what you're going to get today is I previewed it a little bit yesterday because I had a real person that needed help. And not that you aren't real people needing help, but I mean, she was on the phone with me and she was asking me that question. And I'm telling you, this question I get a lot. So if you have a challenge finding the time to write, let me know in the chat. Just say yes. Just say, it just doesn't work out. I don't know, whatever the reasons are, just put it in the chat and, it's okay. Because my first book took me 10 years to write. And why? Because I didn't have time to write. But there was a couple other things. And there's always factors of why you don't have time to write. And that's what I want to kind of deep dive into today. The reasons why you might not have time to write. So, really, I found that a lot of people don't write because of a couple of things. One, they lack the skills and they lack the confidence. So, skills and confidence are two big things because if most people had all the skills and they had all the confidence, it wouldn't be that hard. So Diane, she says from South Carolina, yes, I'm having to find time to write because I'm a caregiver and trying to start a business. Yes. See, and those are all very good reasons for not having the time to write. And I totally understand. And like I said, other people, they're and busyness. Busyness is, it's true. We are all busy. We all have things on our plate. Some of us a lot more than others. And skill comes into it, confidence comes into it. If it's your first book, you might not have any idea what you're doing. I know with my first book, I had this wonderful idea, but it really took me 10 years. But there's a good thing in there. It took me 8 years to kind of figure it out. I took a year off and I came back and wrote the whole thing in 10 months. So, that was after I had more confidence. That's after I had more skills. And that's after I figured out what I was doing. So, and also I'm a slow writer. I don't write fast. I know some people can write, they can write their books in 3 months, but I've never been that way. So I just take longer. So anyway, there's something else too I wanted to ask you is, do you find writing easy? In other words, do you, when you, in your mind, you sit down, do you feel like it's an easy thing to do? In other words, does it bring you joy or does it bring you frustration? And that's a huge thing too, because if you look at writing like you're going to go have a root canal, which, I would rather do just about anything than do a root canal. If you look at it like it's going to be really, really hard, then it's going to be hard. And sometimes, let's see, Ken says, I have trouble finding the time between woodshop and taking care of authors, fire rescue. I do write every day, just not as much as we would like. Yes, Ken runs the Authors Fire and Rescue group, and if anybody's interested in that, let me know. It's an amazing group if you write crime fiction or any type of police procedurals or any type of trauma fiction. His that has to do with first responders. He has an amazing group on Facebook, and um, and I know it's a lot of work running a group because there's just a lot of things you got to take care of. So so here's the thing, writing, and you do say you write every day. That's not as much as you'd like to, and that's great. But a lot of people look at writing as, oh my gosh, this is like pulling teeth. I mean, literally pulling teeth. And it doesn't have to be that way. Um, the other thing is if you're really busy, you can schedule it. And, you do schedule doctor's appointments, you do schedule times to meet with your friends, and you schedule other appointments. Like for me, I schedule client appointments. So it would make sense to schedule a time to write because if it's really, really important to you, put it in the schedule and make it happen. The other thing is it's important though is when you schedule it is you got to look at your most productive times. Now, people that work all day, if your most productive time is in the morning and you're at a regular job, that's going to be a little bit difficult. But maybe on the weekends you can look at a productive time. But some people are more productive at night. I know people that, oh wow, they get a second wind at 9 o'clock at night and they can stay awake till midnight. I'm most productive from 9 until noon in the morning. I know this is my best time. That's when I schedule my writing time because I can write in the afternoon, but I prefer not to. So you got to look at scheduling. Um, and then the other thing is you need to also look at how important is writing to you. When I asked the woman yesterday who wants to write the book who didn't have the time, I said, how important is this to you? And she says, well, for 30 years, I've wanted to write this book. It's really important to me. And so it's like, so then you have to find the time. You have to make this a priority. If your book needs to get out, if your voice needs to be heard in the world, you have got to make this happen. And so if you think about it, think about it on a scale of 1 to 10. How important is writing to you? I mean, for me, it's a 10 plus. And for other people, though, it might be less. But if it's a 7 or more and it's really important to you, then you're going to have to find the time to do it. One thing that's interesting is a lot of us have busy things on our schedules. And this is not to say anybody that's, if you've got a lot of stuff in your schedule, I understand. But we also have something called FOMO, the fear of missing out. Sometimes we volunteer to do this, we help with this, we're always the one to volunteer. I'll do it. But then you got to think about the joy of missing out. Look at JOMO versus FOMO. And the joy of missing out means that you're giving up one thing in your schedule to make time for the other thing, which could be writing or, the one thing that you really want to do. And so sometimes we just have to reframe ourselves. We have to look at, what am I doing? Am I doing too much? And, for those of you that watch Netflix, hey, that there's nothing wrong with watching Netflix, but if you binge not Netflix for 3 or 4 hours a day, would one of those hours be better spent writing? And yes, I know it's easy to put off the writing. It's easy to say, well, I just don't know if I can do it today. And then it goes to the next day, and then it goes to the next day. But if you start scheduling it, if you start saying, I am going to make this happen because it's important to me, I need to get this book out, it will happen. You put it in your schedule, you treat it like an appointment that's important. Also, and to reframe it, don't look at it like it's a dentist appointment or something that you would rather not do. Look at it as meeting up with a friend, meeting up, doing this thing that you feel joy. And I do feel joy when I write. I mean, writing, I got to be honest, writing's not always easy. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes the words won't come, but I still look at it with joy. And so for me, when I have it scheduled, it's like, ooh, I get to write. And I am excited about it. And when I sit down, I'm excited about it. And I really want to make it happen. So you got to think about the most productive time of your day. You got to think about maybe missing out on a couple of things that you're doing to make time for writing. You got to think about scheduling it. So those are those three things that are really important. The other thing is, what about confidence? If you lack the confidence, then you can get with a writing coach. You can get with someone who can help you with confidence. And the other thing is, what about skills? Skills can be learned. If you really don't understand how to write sentences, dialogue, description, skills can be learned. And so skills can be taught and learned. Confidence can be gained by working with someone, an accountability group. Um, Inside our community on Facebook, there's a lot of people there that would love to encourage you. The other thing is, are you willing to do what it takes to get the story out? Like I said, it took me 10 years, but it also, as soon as I figured out what I was doing, it took me 10 months. And, a lot of that was I had no idea how to write. I had no idea how to self-publish. I had to learn all of that and, made the first cover ourselves, which was terrible. Someday I'll have a talk about that one or a chat about that one. Anyway, I made all the mistakes, but I learned the skills. I developed the confidence. I found accountability and I made the time to make it happen because it was a priority in my life. So before I end up here, are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions about what we've been talking about? I feel like I've gone kind of fast, um, but I'd love to answer your questions. So writing is hard, yes, but it's also a joy if you make it a joy. Um, the other thing is to train your writing brain. So for me, I sit at the same place, you know, I have water, I drink water, but I know a lot of people will go to a coffee shop. And when they go to the coffee shop, they know that's, they get their favorite latte or their favorite coffee or something, and they know that's their time to write. And their brain just kind of kicks in. And once you start practicing and you're like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make this happen, then it just all of a sudden your brain kind of kicks in and the words start coming and it's a lot easier. Um, and then find the time that you're productive. So, like if you're productive, in the morning or in the evening, set aside that time, put it in your calendar, put it in your phone with an app, and say, hey, I am going to make this happen. And then the other thing is if you need help, if you need help, if you need skills, confidence, if you need accountability, I am a writing coach and this is what I do. I help people. I encourage people. I understand the skills that you need. I understand that you need confidence. I understand that accountability. I mean, when you've got somebody that's waiting for you to write and they're expecting it, um, you know, it helps a lot. Ken says, I enjoy writing. It helps me revisit the old days working fire rescue. Yeah, see, you found the joy in it. You found a way to go back to those stories, and I know some of them are very difficult for you, but you've turned it into something that you really enjoy, and that's great. And so for you, like you said, you do write every day. And I'm curious, Ken, does that mean 7 days a week or is that 5 days a week? And Diane, you asked the question, does outlining count as writing so that when you outline a new book, it counts as a book writing? Diane, I'm going to say that outlining, research, because for my first book, I did a lot. I researched for 6 months because I had some historical things going on that I needed to have line up. And I mean, I'm going to say if you're working towards making that book happen, yes, that does count because um if you're outlining, you're putting the shell, you're putting the foundation of your book together. I personally don't outline, and I'm probably going to do a live stream on are you an outliner or are you a pantser? Because honestly, I'm a pantser. I don't outline, I just sit down and write. And I think that's what I'm going to talk about next week is pantsers, plotters, and plancers. Um, but yes, Diane, anything you're doing to make that book happen, I'm going to count it as writing time. Some people say no, it's only when you put words on a page. Well, for me, if I don't do my character outlines first, I do outline my characters. If I don't do my research first, then it stalls me in the rest of it. Ken says 7 days a week. Wow, that's awesome. That's great. That's commitment. I do not write 7 days a week. I write 5 days a week. And sometimes it's hard on the weekends when I don't, but I tell myself, just it's okay. It gets me excited to write on Monday. Any other questions? I know where there's like a 30-second delay here, so I want to make sure that I get your questions answered. So after listening to this, do you feel like you can find more time to write? Do you feel like I gave you some helpful hints on, from your ideal writing time to maybe giving up something, maybe scheduling it? You seem to have a handle on that pretty well. Um, but you said you have trouble finding time between woodshop and taking care of the author's rescue group. But so you must have some sort of built-in schedule in your mind where you really like to just sit down at a specific time and do it. So now, whatever works for you, that's the whole thing, is whatever works for you, whatever gets the words on the page, whatever gets the outline done. Ken says, I do make a plan. I script my fire scenes so I don't miss the little things that will come back to haunt. Yes. For me, I do dialogue very well, but I don't do description very well. So I will write my stories and then I go back and I add a lot of description because I have a tendency just to skip over it. I don't see the scene as well as I can hear it. I hear it very well. Diane says, I don't think I'm going to be so hard on myself and just write as I schedule. And if I miss the writing time, I'm going to try not to get upset. I think this will help. Yes, that is so important. Please, please, please do not beat yourselves up because you don't get your writing done. It's because, and I'm trying to, there you go. I used to do that, and then I'd feel guilty all day, and then the next day I'd sit down and I'd feel like a kid again that got scolded, by a parent or whatever. And don't make yourself feel bad. I mean, yes, this is something you want to do, but give yourself some leeway. That's why I write 5 days a week. I write Monday through Friday, and my goal is 500 words a day. So that's 2,500 words a week. And I know that's not a lot, but it's doable for me. And so for me, I might write 1,000 words a day and 1,500 words the next. So in 2 days, I'll have my 2,500 words. So then if I write the rest of the week, it's just bonus words. But I schedule, I mean, I tell myself I'm going to write that many words, and sometimes I write 200. I mean, sometimes there's a scene that I will write and rewrite and delete, and actually I don't delete them, I just kind of save them. I do a save as, so I have all my copies. And but no, I don't beat myself up if I don't write. I can't do that. I mean, this is supposed to be something I enjoy, and if I'm beating myself up and making myself feel guilty, then all of a sudden I'm gonna step away because it's not fun anymore. And the whole thing is you got to make it you got to make it something you enjoy coming to, not something that's going to make you feel bad. And it's hard enough to get the words on the page. We don't need to beat ourselves up. Does that help, Diane? I think we can guilt ourselves and make ourselves feel guilty by a whole lot of stuff. So, we don't need to do that about our writing because writing's important. Yes, thank you. Oh, sorry, I'll show it on screen. She said, yes, thanks so much. So that's just it. So find a time that you're productive. Put it in a calendar if you can. Make it a priority. Don't beat yourself up if you don't do it. Don't make yourself feel bad. Um, have a schedule that you can do. Don't say I'm going to write 7 days a week for 3 hours at a time and, get a book done in 2 months. If that's not doable for you, then don't do it. I have to do something that's doable for me. And every one of you has to do something that's doable for you too. So, if I leave you with anything else, it's just be kind to yourself, enjoy your writing, and it's time to make that book happen, or that story happen, or that memoir happen, or whatever it is that you want to write. It's time to get started. It's time to not say I don't have the time to write, but it's time to say I'm going to make the time to write, and because this is important to me. Anyway, I hope this helped. You know how to find me in the Facebook group. And for anyone watching on YouTube later on the replay, there's a link to our Facebook group at the very top of my page, and it says join our community. Anyway, I'd love to have you. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next week.